What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another video today, and I thought today we'd look at Arsenal's contract situation for the 2021 season. 6 players in particular who this summer will have a year left on their contract. By 2021 they will be out of contract, so we're going to go through those 6 players and let me know whether you would keep, sell, would you extend their contracts or not. Before we get into the video, keep subscribing to the channel. We're on the road to 10k by the end of the season, so big up for all your support. So number 1 on the list, and one that we all know about, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, the star player at Arsenal, Arsenal's top goal scorer over the last 2 seasons. He was the joint Golden Boot winner last season with Salah and Sadio Mane. He's currently Arsenal's top goal scorer this season. Of course, Barcelona were linked with him in the January transfer window. They tried hard to get him. Abidal has been talking over there in Spain, saying that they may look to get Aubameyang again this summer, which is not what Arsenal fans want to hear. Now, Aubameyang turns 31 this June. And of course, he's on around £200,000 a week already. So any new deal is going to take him close to the £300,000 a week mark. Now, would you commit £300,000 a week to a guy who turns 31? Is he too old? Or in your opinion, with the goals and, the way he's playing, he doesn't look as if age is affecting him. I still personally think Aubameyang's got at least 2 more years as a top striker. And I would be looking to keep him, even on something close to £300,000 a week. Although if Barcelona do come back in for him, I think we'll struggle to keep him. You don't often see players turn down Barcelona, especially with Arsenal's current situation. What would you do? Would you keep Aubameyang? Would you run down his contract into the final year and just keep him, let him run it down and walk away for free? He'll be 32 that summer. Would you extend his contract? Would you give him 2 or 3 years on 300 grand a week? Or would you cash in on him this summer? We've had 3 seasons out of him. Would you take maybe £60 million for him with a year left on his deal? So let me know what you think on that one. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. But for me, I would certainly be trying to keep him. I think maybe a 2-year contract extension would be okay for Arsenal. The second one that certainly divides opinion, is Mesut Ozil. He was our record signing at the time when we signed him, £42.5 million. Certainly in his early years at Arsenal, he was a top player. Brilliant at getting assists, Mr. Assist they called him. He came to us at a time when we desperately needed a superstar to come through the door, and he was that at that time. I don't believe he's the same player anymore. He got the £350,000 a week deal from Arsene Wenger and Ivan Gazidis, and he really hasn't lived up to expectations since signing that contract. And I think not only will, I think Arsenal will be trying to move him on in the summer. That's my opinion. But, your opinion, would you extend Mesut Ozil's contract and keep him beyond 2021? Would you just let him run down the contract again and just let him go for free? Or would you try and sell him this summer? I mean, the problem is who's going to pay his wages. I think a club in the Middle East tried to sign him in January, and Arsenal rejected it because they said that, it's going to be hard to replace him at the last minute. For me, in the summer, if that kind of offer came in, I would be accepting it and selling him. I think he's been a good servant to the club. Certainly in his early years, he was a super player. In the last few years, he just hasn't been as effective. I think number 10s in general are changing. And number 10s, if you are going to play with one, they have to score more goals. And Ozil simply doesn't score enough. So yeah, he's been a great player. He's not the same player anymore. For me, I would be offloading him. Let me know what you think. The third one is Socrates, centre back. He turns 32 in June. We signed him from Dortmund for around £17 million. He's been okay. I'm not a big fan of him. I think we signed him a couple of years past his best. Although I can't question his passion and determination. He has given everything for the shirt. For me, with a year left on his contract, if I could shift him for decent money, I would get rid of him. But I'd be happy to keep him as a backup player for the final year of his contract if needs must. But certainly wouldn't be extending his contract. Again, let me know what you think, Socrates. has been an okay player, but for me, you know, I just don't think he's the answer going forward. But as I said, as backup, I'd be happy to keep him for one more year. Similar situation, number 4, David Luiz. We signed him at the start of the season for £8 million. He gets a lot of criticism. We know he's got a mistake in him at times, but I actually think he's been our best centre-back this season. He's certainly our best passer of the ball in defence. Some of his passing at times is superb. He's shown good leadership. And I think he's been okay. Again, similar to Socrates, I wouldn't be extending his contract. The only difference is I wouldn't be selling him, to be honest. I would keep David Luiz for another year. I think his experience is vital. I think he's a decent squad player for us to keep. Although, you know, Saliba's come in. Of course, I think, you know, someone like Upamecano we should be trying to sign as well. So I would keep Luiz for the remainder of his contract. Let me know what you would do there. Number 4, Shkodran Mustafi. Now, let's get one thing clear. He is not good enough to be at Arsenal long term. His form has improved since Arteta has come in, and he looks a bit more focused. But, you know, for £35 million, he's simply not good enough. He's not the answer. He's a ticking time bomb in the sense that, you know, he plays well, but you know the mistake is round the corner. We've tried for years to sell him and no one wants to buy him. So what do? You know, another summer of trying to sell him. I could quite easily see Mustafi being here till the end of his contract, because who's going to take him? He's on £85,000 a week. You know, it's going to be difficult to move unless you can loan him out for the season, get someone to cover his wages. Would you keep Mustafi for another year? Certainly wouldn't extend his contract. And I don't think many of you out there would want to extend his contract. I think we've seen enough of Mustafi. Me personally, I would offload him in the summer. His time's up for me. Of course, he'll be here till the end of the season. And let's hope he can finish the season strong. Number 6, the final one, is Henrik Mkhitaryan. Yeah, you probably forgot he's still an Arsenal player. On loan at Roma. He's done okay, 4 goals this season. You know, 170 grand a week he's on. Apparently, we rejected an offer from Roma for 8.5 million in January. Arsenal looking for 20 million pound for Mkhitaryan. Completely unrealistic, in my opinion. You know, 31 years of age, 170 grand a week. How are we going to get 20 million pound for him? You know, I think if you can get maybe 12, 14 million pound for him, is where I would be going. Get him off the books. His wage is so big. The last thing you want is Roma to pull out and you end up with him back at Arsenal on big wages, and that's restricting us moving forward towards our new signings. But you know, the whole Arsenal transfer policy at the best of times doesn't make sense. So yeah, there's the 6 players. Looking over them again, for me, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, I would extend his contract for 2 years. If he doesn't want to stay, I would offload him in the summer though, and try and get 60 or 70 million pounds if possible for him. Mesut Ozil I would get rid of in the summer. Even if we can't get a permanent deal, I would loan him out if somebody would pay the majority of his wages. Socrates I would sell as well. Wouldn't extend his contract, although I would keep him as backup if nobody wanted to sign him. David Luiz I would keep for another year. I think he's been, you know, quite good. The best of a bad bunch. I would keep him till the end of his contract, because you need a little bit of experience. You don't want 4 young centre-backs. Mustafi I would get rid of in the summer as well. I think Mustafi's time's up. The question is, you know, who's going to take Mustafi? Looking at potential transfer fees, I think Aubameyang with a year left, 50 or 60 million you would have to take. I think Mesut Ozil, you'd be lucky to get 10 million for him. Not because of his ability, because of the huge wages that clubs would have to pay for him. You're not going to get a big transfer fee for Mesut Ozil, unfortunately. Socrates as well, I think if you could get 10 million quid for him, you'd take that. I think David Luiz, you know, we paid 8 million for him. You'd be lucky to get your money back, really, if you was selling him. So maybe 7, 8 million on him. Mustafi, I think maybe 15 million if you're lucky, 10 to 15 million. He's still a German international. He's 27, although he turns 28 in April. But just getting him off the books would be the main thing. And Mkhitaryan, I think 12, 14 million, somewhere around there. Let me know what you think on those players. Arsenal certainly got work to do in the transfer market. And a lot of this will depend on whether we're in the Champions League, the Europa League, or not in Europe at all. Keep subscribing to the channel. Hit me up in the comments. Smash that thumbs up button, and I'll be back later in the week. Bless.